You know what he had with him, right? He gave up that it wasn't just a Julian Assange. This is not like Private Manning did, where they were just trying to expose some things, which by the way was still wrong.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
right
yeah.
way and wrong way to do
Different
things.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually compromised.
But what I'm going to say is that you have any disclosure that you've done, including this book and everything since 2017, you've been very careful to do everything in a legal manner.
100%.
Your colleague Chris Mellon, when he walked the paperwork into the New York Times in 2017, was able to do that because of, I forget the name of the law and the stipulation, but because of a recent stipulation that had been passed in Congress that allowed him to do that. Obviously, this is something you were involved with. So you guys have done it by the letter of the law. I do need to say that. However, you talk about a government for the people and by the people, and that you have, I believe you phrased it something like a moral responsibility to report to people if something has been done that is compromising that. And yet you are also a guy who has strong criticism of Edward Snowden. Now, let me be very frank on how I look at Edward Snowden. I look at him as being stuck between a shit and a fart, okay? Slippery slopes on both ends. On one end, he sees the United States Constitution being trampled on by the government through some weird legal maneuvers that basically obfuscated what they were really doing from the courts. And when he did try to take that up the chain of command, they told him, fuck off, get out of here. So that's one problem. On the other hand, though, the minute he goes and reports something and breaks his oath, right? He had an oath that said, I swear to secrecy, anything that I'm told to keep secret in the government. He is now like, maybe his situation is good enough to do that, but he now sets a precedent where the next person can say, oh, I reported what I reported because Snowden did it. And maybe theirs is 99.9% the importance of his, and so on down. And eventually, you're down at 1% and people are reporting everything that happens in government. So either way, it's a problem. However, if you have that moral obligation, like you said, could you not see how someone like Snowden felt the way he did? Totally different scenario from UIP, to be very fair here, but felt the way he did from a constitutional perspective to come out and make that type of
I have
disclosure.
no problem with the way Snowden felt. I have a problem with what Snowden did. He took his information and gave it to the Russians. That's the problem.
He gave it to the Russians?
Yes. That's the problem. He didn't come out and whistleblow. He came out and spied. He leaked information, classified information. I've never done that. I've never purported to do it. I don't support it.
What do you mean he leaked it to the Russians?
Brother, that's why he went to Russia
Well, his plane got down by, at the time, Vice President Joe Biden. He was flying
Brother, he's living in Russia.
I know, but he was flying
under
from
protection.
I know, but he was flying from Hong Kong to Ecuador, and his plane got downed in Russia by Biden.
You know what he had with him, right? He gave up that it wasn't just a Julian Assange. This is not like Private Manning did, where they were just trying to expose some things, which by the way was still wrong.
Yeah,
There's a right way and wrong way to do things.
Different situation.
Yeah, he actually compromised people who died. And that is a problem. There are people who are no longer alive right now.
So that's been disputed, though. There's people that say that there's no one who died as a result of it, though he may have risked it.
No, there are. I can't go into details. There are sources who died, and so from my perspective, I never took this information and ran to the hills. First of all, everything I've discussed has always been unclassified, and if I wasn't sure, I went to the Pentagon and I asked. So there is a big difference between going and running from your country and taking a bunch of classified information with you and releasing that. I never did that, and I never will do that, and I never have done that. And I think anybody who does that should go to jail.
Okay.
What I've done is to have the conversation. I've used the system to my advantage and to all of our advantage, I believe, I hope. And if you look at the track record, I think it's fair to say that we have, by doing it the right way, look, no one's gone to jail, and look how far we are. We now have Congress involved. We now have an arrow established. We now have rules and laws on the books, right? We have whistleblower protection. We have right now new legislation that's being proposed right now as part of the new NDAA. That's in the last 7 years, brother.
Yeah.
Think about it. We have gone further in disclosure in 7 years than in the last 70. And we didn't have to break any rules. We did it the right way. No one's gone to jail, and we can still have this conversation. So, I've always said there's a difference between doing things right and doing them right now. And I think if you have only one chance to do it right, then we need to do it that way. Now, could I be wrong? Sure. Are there other people that would have a difference of opinion and think it should be done the other way? Sure. And my response is, be my guest. Do what you want to do.
Like I said, it does need to be said that if you're looking at the record of what we know publicly about you and about the people involved, the things have been done more by the book, and there's something to be said for that, for sure. And I also think, this is also, I don't want to. delegitimize it or anything by any means, but it's also such a pop culture phenomenon too, because people are like, oh, I want to know, right? So you can kind of develop, and this doesn't always go the right way, but you can develop like a fanboy syndrome where people want to know more, they want to know more, and you're going to give it to them. And
100%.
And that's why.
No, that's a problem, brother. And this is you're hitting the nail on the head for me. If I can just
Please.
jump in here. People confuse a messenger with a message all the time, and this is one of my personal struggles with people, because people will see someone and I'm sure this happens with you too, right? That you have this persona that they have in their mind of you, of what you're doing, and then all of a sudden, you become the more important thing than what it is you're trying to communicate. And from my perspective, I try to remind people, look, I'm just like you. I have the same issues as you. I pay my bills like you. I have the same bias as you. I'm just a normal schmo. The only difference is I was in a position where I felt I needed to do something about it. I'm not a hero. I tell people that all the time. I have this horrible imposter syndrome that I have because people say, oh, you're a hero. No, I'm not a hero, because I served with heroes and a lot of them didn't come back. So I know what a real hero is, and I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy finishing the job that he was given to begin with. And frankly, I've always told people this before, anybody else in my situation, including you or anybody else who took the same oath I did and was in my job, would have probably done exactly the same thing I did. And arguably, you might have even done a better job than me. So I just happened to be the guy in the chamber at the time. And, okay, guys, here's the reality of things. But by no means, people say, well, you're leading this disclosure effort. I sure hope not. I really do, because I'm not the guy for that. This is a relay race, and my job is just to carry the baton as far as I can. And here you go. I'm not the guy who's going to win the race. I'm just one of the guys in a long chain to get us where we are. Look, you are just as part of this chain as I am. You're having this conversation with people right now in your audience. You have a global reach. Now think about that for a second. Think about that responsibility. You, today's day and age, right now, have a larger global audience than many of the world leaders just 10 years ago. You have that, right? So you are very much part of this effort as well. So I'm just one dude, just like you're just one dude.
But we also all, and this includes you too, we don't want to be a useful idiot in that as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can only know what you know. I mean, really, from my seat, because I literally sit in an armchair here, you've at least been on the inside, but have you ever thought about that too? Because it's not like you were head of the CIA or something, you were high up or whatever, but have you thought about the idea that maybe you were given access to things like, and I'm not delegitimizing you as a person, I'm saying like, let's drop some nuts and let's get the best squirrel that we know is going to
manipulate. Yeah, then we can manipulate them to go ahead and put our message. That's always a possibility. But then you're talking about a conspiracy on a level that would be so cost prohibitive and the coordination so tight, because most of these people like me had access to just about almost everything. So you would have to keep a long-running secret, and you'd have to backstop it for years beforehand, like decades.
Yes.
If you wanted to execute this. And then you have to ask the reason why. Why? There's so much easier ways to do it. If you want more funding for space technology, all you got to say is, look, this is what the Russians are doing. Okay, here's your money. You don't got to go through this elaborate dance and, hire a bunch of people to pretend that they saw something and make fake radar footage and make fake FLIR videos and make fake, gun camera footage. I mean, that's why. There's so much simpler ways to do it, and more effective ways. You would spend more money creating this illusion than you would ever get as an end result trying to fund some sort of program. It doesn't make financial sense. You're going to spend $1 billion to make $1 million? Well,
just tell them the UFOs are eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. You can go get all the funding you want.
Yikes. I'm not going there with a 10-foot pole.
That's okay. I had to throw that one in there. I see what you're saying, though. I think that's a fair point. It's like, why would you go away from what works just for the sake of doing it? It's been proven over and over again. It's not like the military-industrial complex has a problem saying yes to a bill if it's a threat from another country.
That's right. That's what funds the war machine. Why would you come up with some cockamamie elaborate? First of all, anyone who would approve that would be a moron. I'm sorry. That's a big no, And oh, by the way, if it ever comes out, because eventually it will, if that was the case, then we're all going to jail.
Yeah. But you also... Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.